We're often told that democracy is the fairest system humanity has ever built. The people's voice, one person, one vote. The antidote to tyranny. And as an idea, that sounds right. But somewhere along the way, democracy stopped being just a political system and quietly became something else as well. A business. Not as a metaphor. Literally. With customers, marketing teams, campaign budgets, revenue cycles, and shareholders. The only problem is that the shareholders aren't you. They're the people who figured out how to monetize your attention, your fears, your hopes, and even your ideals. And if democracy is a business, then someone is making money from it. It's just very unlikely that it's the voter. The ideal of democracy is ancient. The reality of democracy as an industry is not. In ancient Athens, democracy was direct, rough, and highly limited. Citizens gathered, debated, and voted themselves. No campaign ads, no consultants, no polling data, no marketing strategy. But as societies grew larger, democracy changed. It became representative. And the moment representation replaced direct participation, a marketplace emerged, a marketplace of influence. By the 19th century, elections already required money. Printing pamphlets, organizing rallies, securing newspaper support. Politics started to look less like civic duty and more like production. The real shift came in the 20th century, when mass media met mass politics. Once radio and television became tools of persuasion, democracy stopped being only about ideas and started behaving like consumer marketing. In the United States, that shift became obvious during the 1960 Kennedy-Nixon debates. People who listened on the radio thought Nixon won. People who watched on television thought Kennedy dominated. From that moment on, appearance, tone, and image mattered as much as policy. Sometimes more. Votes were no longer just earned. They were sold. Campaign spending exploded. In 1960, the U.S. presidential election cost about $8 million. By 2020, it cost more than $14 billion. That money wasn't spent on democratic ideals. It was spent buying attention, shaping perception, selling a product. The product was a candidate, or a party, or an ideology. Voters became customers. And the real revenue came from donors, corporations, and interest groups. The actual shareholders of modern democracy. This isn't just an American story. In the UK, modern campaign machinery took shape by borrowing heavily from corporate branding. In India, political parties use data analytics to segment voters the same way online retailers do. In Brazil, WhatsApp became a primary battleground, with campaigns treating group chats like private focus groups. Different tools, same logic. To win votes, you invest in marketing, branding, and customer acquisition. And unlike most businesses, this one never really stops selling. Every election cycle brings a new campaign, new slogans, new villains, new promises. But the structure stays the same. Political consultants, media companies, pollsters, advertisers, and tech platforms all benefit from repeated election seasons. It's an industry built on renewal, not resolution. Money becomes the fuel. In theory, democracy treats every vote equally. In practice, money buys the microphone. Lobbyists are the clearest expression of this system. They connect the investors of democracy with the politicians who can deliver returns, laws, subsidies, contracts, tax advantages. In the United States alone, lobbying is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And in many countries, the line between lobbying and bribery exists mostly on paper. Over time, the language of politics itself has changed. Campaigns talk about branding. Politicians talk about market share. Policy ideas are focus tested for appeal, not just effectiveness. Even timing becomes a marketing decision. Not, is this needed, but will this sell right now? The will of the people turns into a curated product, and this has consequences. When democracy becomes a business, economic policy tends to serve its investors. Banking donors weaken regulation. Energy donors delay climate action. The public sees ideological debates. Behind the scenes, their investment calculations. The system becomes strangely resilient and deeply fragile at the same time. Resilient because as long as money flows, elections continue. Fragile because profitability doesn't require trust. In fact, outrage often performs better. Anger drives engagement. Fear spreads faster than hope. Division keeps attention locked in. In the digital age, this effect is amplified. Political marketing is no longer broadcast. It's personalized. Millions of tailored messages, each designed to trigger a specific response. And social media platforms don't just host this system. They power it. The business model of democracy has merged with the attention economy. Both profit from keeping you emotionally engaged. The crisis of trust we see today didn't come out of nowhere. It's the predictable result of treating politics as a profit center. Once you see democracy through this lens, the parallels to corporate monopolies are hard to miss. Incumbents have brand recognition and built-in advantages. New movements face massive barriers to entry. Disruptors are crushed, absorbed, or neutralized. And here's the final irony. The shareholders of democracy don't actually need a healthy democracy. They need one that looks functional enough to keep people participating. If trust erodes, the product is rebranded, modernized, streamlined, efficient. Words that can mean almost anything. As long as returns continue, the system survives. And this is why it matters to you. If democracy is an industry, you are both the customer and the raw material. Your attention, your data, your vote. The most dangerous assumption is thinking your role is passive. In any market, informed participants do better than uninformed ones. The same applies here. Understanding money isn't just about investing or budgeting. It's about recognizing how financial incentives shape political outcomes. History shows what happens when systems prioritize the profitability of power over the needs of people. Sometimes they decay slowly. Sometimes they collapse suddenly. And when the bill comes due, it's rarely paid by the shareholders. It's paid by the public. So when you see political messaging, ask the financial questions. Who funded this? Who benefits? What's the return on investment? Because the only thing worse than playing the game is not realizing you're in one. If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe to the channel. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.